What's up, everybody? Today I'm still raging about this Kate Steinle thing, right? I'm sure a lot of other people are too. So today I thought that it would be pertinent, very, very important that maybe we could take a deep dive into just how our justice system reacts whenever somebody, right, is thought to have or accused of or admits to causing a death on accident, right? Basically, you would be charged with involuntary manslaughter in that case, or possibly if it's a lesser degree of negligence, you would get negligent homicide, which is right under involuntary manslaughter. So here's what I've noticed, all right, and I'm sure we've all noticed this, is that the cases have different outcomes depending on which race the victim is versus the assailant or the defendant, whatever. And today I would like to prove that, at least in whatever small part you would take this to be. Personally, I think it's abhorrent. I think it really speaks to the state of our justice system. It speaks to the state of our racial awareness, the state of our racial togetherness. I think it speaks to a lot of things, and I think it speaks to the racial all those things of non-whites as well. So let's get into it, okay? First, I want to go over what happens whenever the person on trial here, or the person in the spotlight who is accused of accidentally causing the death is white. Okay, we're going to go over a couple of those real quick. One that I wasn't familiar with until today. I'm going to have trouble with his last name. Give me a break. But this is a white cop. Okay, his name is, I'm assuming, Johannes Messerle. Mehserle. I don't know. It sounds Dutch almost. But anyways, okay. So, he is accused of accidentally causing the death of a Mexican piece of garbage with a very long history of crime, violent crime. Now, what it was he was on a call for a domestic violence complaint where this Mexican guy, what was his damn name? Oh, well, I don't remember. Anyways, the guy in question, the Mexican guy in question, was supposedly, his girl or whoever called and said, he hit me, whatever. So the cop comes out there, this Johannes guy, and the guy's obviously being all pissed and, you know how they do, resisting, getting kind of loud or whatever. So Johannes is like, look, I'm going to detain you. I need to put you in cuffs until this is over with, okay? It's all on video. So he goes to put the guy in cuffs, and he seems to be cooperating. And like as soon as he gets his hands behind his back, the guy's right hand kind of twitches out real fast. So at that point, the cop, Johannes, and then his partner, right, they pin the guy to the ground, and then they're going to cuff him that way. Now, he has one hand free, and he's reaching for his pocket. So the Johannes guy, the cop, reaches for what he claims is his stun gun. He claims he was trying to get his stun gun so he could stun the guy. Well, he accidentally, so he says, his story, gets his pistol and shoots the guy, thinking it was the stun gun. Now, like I said, it's all on video. And as soon as it happened, he was very, very clearly extremely disturbed. He busted out into tears. He was telling the guy, please don't die. I'm so sorry. All this stuff. I mean, it was it was sad, but it was very apparent. If we're talking in terms of the case, it was very apparent that it was an accident. It truly was an accident. Or that's the best acting I've ever seen in my life. Now, how did that cop fare in the court system? Well, he was convicted of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 2 years in prison, which he served the full term of. Okay, so white cop, the assailant or whatever, the victim is a brown guy, a brown man. Pretty cut and dry. We see what happens. White cop goes to jail for the 2-year mandatory sentence. Now, another case where the white person is at fault for death in a similar situation is Michelle Carter. Now, I'm sure we've all heard of this girl. She is the texting suicide girlfriend girl, right? And I did a little bit of looking into this case while I was doing this research. And I'm not going to lie to you. Much like every other media story, it is much, much, much different, the facts than the media would have you believe, or, told the entire country. Now, they made it out to be like she was just bully-siding this guy. Like, you need to kill yourself. You're a piece of shit. Why are you alive? That type of thing. That's not even close. It's not even close. This guy had a history of being, mentally depressed, mentally impaired. He had all kind of psychological problems. Okay, all kinds of them. He was 18 when this took place. She was 17 when this took place. And they were dating. And for a couple of months, he had told her he wanted to kill himself. He wanted to kill himself, and he wanted her, to help or whatever. And she said no. She said no. And then for whatever reason, she eventually said yes after all the no's. Now, her defense was that she was mentally impaired at the time. She was suffering her own mental problems. And it was her delusion that she thought she needed to help him get to heaven. That's her defense. Now, it is important to note that this guy never was coaxed into doing anything. It was all his idea. It was all his idea. All of it. And basically, like whenever the judge handed down the sentence and read his decision, he said in there a couple of times, the crime here, the problem, the reason you're going to prison is because you didn't stop this guy from killing himself. And I was not under any kind of impression that you had to stop somebody from harming themselves, right? Of course, it's a dick move not to. We all know that. But I did not know it was a law that you had to, inject yourself into the situation to stop a crazy person from doing something, because they're crazy. They want to kill themselves one minute. They might want to kill you the next minute. Who the hell knows? So, anyways, that's beside the point. Now, they rested their case on this text right here. So it would kind of seem like it's the worst. They thought it was the worst one she sent him, right? And like I said, the media would have you think that she's sitting there saying, kill yourself. You're not a real man. You need to just fucking off yourself, you piece of shit. Well, this is the one they rested their case on right here. You can't think about it. You just have to do it. You said you were going to do it. Like, I don't get why you aren't. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, what a bitch, right? What a fucking bitch. But involuntary manslaughter? I fucking think not. I mean, it's my opinion. Now, she was sentenced. She was convicted. She was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. She was convicted to 2.5 years in prison. She has to serve 15 months of that 2.5-year sentence. Then she's eligible for parole. Most people do not get parole their first time, right? So, I mean, but at the very best case scenario, she's got 15 months in prison. Now, she does have appeal processes and everything, but it's worth noting they actually officially handed down the sentence, which is a lot more than you can fucking say for some of the stories we're going to get to here in a minute. Okay? So, that's just a couple of examples of when white people, accidentally or otherwise, whatever, cause the death of somebody. And I think it's worth noting, the dude that killed himself, Jew. So, another oppressed minority, of course, 6 million of them never even made it out of Europe. That's how oppressed they were. So, very oppressed minority. Now, let's get on to where the non-whites are the people accidentally, right, causing the deaths of white people. And let's see the justice react the exact same way, because justice is blind, don't you know, in America, where everything's fair and everybody gets a fair shake and everybody gets punished equally when they fuck up the same way. I'm going to prove it to you right now. All right. The next guy's name is Tommy Morgan. He is a member of the Navajo Indian tribe, inside America. Now, I understand that Tommy Morgan is not a very Indian sounding name, but that's his name. So what he did to cause the death of somebody was he was driving drunk 4 times the legal limit, all right, 4 times. And he had a white friend in the passenger seat. Now, during that wreck, that passenger died. So we have a case of, something like involuntary manslaughter type thing, an accidental death, a negligent death. He was ended up being sentenced to negligent homicide, which is 1 step below involuntary manslaughter, like legally. It carries a lesser charge, right? And he was sentenced to 1 year of a suspended prison sentence. Now, suspended is just a fancy way of saying non-existent, right? You don't have to serve it. So he got no prison time, no jail time, and he was sentenced to 3 years of probation, basically. They call it supervised release, just another fancy word for probation. So that's how American Indians get treated whenever they cause the death of a white person on accident slash through negligent, behavior. Now the next one I want to go over. I mean, I'll tell you what, we're going to do a deep dive into one from a little while back. So let's just go ahead and let's knock out the Kate Steinle one right now. As we all know what happened with Kate Steinle. She was walking on the boardwalk with her father when a stray bullet hit her in the back, causing her death. She literally died in her dad's arms while asking for him to help. He couldn't help. Some things that even dad can't do, which is a very tragic story. Now, her killer, her murderer, in my opinion, but since I'm being all lawyery tonight, the alleged killer, okay, he is an illegal immigrant from Mexico. We had deported him 5 times previously. He just keeps on coming back like herpes. And they actually had him in California, in the county he was in. They actually had him in jail. And ICE asked them to hold him. Well, they're a sanctuary city, wherever the fuck it was. I can't remember. Then they let him go because they're very progressive. And that's how you stick it in the eye of Donald Trump, is let these psychopaths out on the street to terrorize Whitey. Donald Trump hates it when you do that. So we're just going to do that. Because that's what we like to do. So that's what they did. And his story changed multiple times. First, whenever he was approached and asked, like, hey, you shot this lady, what's your side of the story? His first answer is, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I didn't do it. Oh, well, here's you on camera running away from the scene. Here's you, this and that, whatever. He said, okay, well, look. I was on sleeping medicine. Okay, I was on drugs and I was fucked up. I found those. I didn't buy them. I found them. And I stepped on the gun and it went off and it was an accident. They showed him how they knew he was lying. So once he realized he was busted, brown-handed, then he said, okay, look, what had happened was I picked it up. And as soon as I picked it up, I never even touched the trigger. It just went off. Well, they showed him how that's not possible. They knew he was lying. Once again, shit, I'm brown-handed. Well, I got to change my story again. Then he said that he mistook Kate Steinle and her father for sea lions, and he was going to kill them. So while he shot through a crowd of people at these seals, which I don't think is fucking legal. I don't think it's legal to shoot seals, okay? Even if it was, it would not be legal to do so on a fucking boardwalk. But that's you know what? Let's get back to the facts, okay? So him mistaking Kate Steinle and her father for seals caused the death of Kate Steinle. Accidental death. At the very, very best, he accidentally killed Kate Steinle and admitted to it through negligent behavior, right? He was basically committing one crime, which would be killing a seal on the boardwalk, and it actually ended up accidentally causing the death of Kate Steinle. So that, by legal definitions, is clear-cut involuntary manslaughter. And that is the most innocent this guy gets, because the most guilty he gets is that he shot this woman on purpose. That's the worst case scenario, which is kind of what I believe. For whatever reason, because he was on drugs or what, I don't give a fuck. Who cares about the reason? That's the worst. The best case scenario is he was trying to shoot seals out of season without a license while being in our country illegally, and he accidentally shot a person instead. Okay, so he goes to trial. He gets found innocent. And their reasoning is what? It was an accident? Yeah, we know. It can be an accident, right? And you still just committed involuntary manslaughter. But he was found innocent of all charges, which was murder 1, murder 2, and involuntary manslaughter. Okay, he got convicted of nothing and he got set fucking free. He's supposed to get deported, but we all know he's going to fucking end up back here. I mean, he's a pro by now. He's been over here 6 times. We deported him 5 times and he's come back. Like, we're going to deport him another time and he will make his 7th trip here. It's not a big deal to this guy. So that's how it works for that guy. Now, here's another case that I had personally actually forgotten about. I'm very ashamed to say, and I suspect that a lot of people watching this had probably forgotten about it too. And the only reason that I think that, a lot of people forgot about it like myself is because there's so much of this kind of shit going on. Like, you tend to forget about the ones that happened in the past. Like, I mean, it's just so much white death at the hands of these savages and people who shouldn't be here. It's hard to keep up, right? Now, The case that I'm referring to, that we're going to dive into, a piece written by a Jewish reporter, though I repeat myself, is what I'm talking about here. Sorry, I got the wrong thing. Is the case of Mohammed Noor, the Somalian cop from Minneapolis, Minnesota, who shot that lady with the last name Damon. She was a white woman, actually from Australia. She was married to a U.S. citizen, so she's a U.S. citizen now too. Anyways, what she did was she called the cops. She said, hey, look, there's some kind of robbery or rape or something going on. I just heard a woman screaming and I heard a guy attacking her, right? So she called the cops. They're there to answer her call. The black Somalian cop, which I'll repeat myself once again, the Somalian cop is sitting in the passenger side, okay? His white partner is sitting in the driver's side. The white woman is approaching the vehicle from the driver's side. Now, they knew who called. They knew what she basically looked like. They knew the outlook or the outline of what she looked like, the basics. White, blonde woman, mid-40s. There she is approaching. Without warning, without, so much as a peep, this Somalian cop reaches across from the passenger side right in front of his partner's face, and he pulls the trigger and he shoots this woman. Okay? Now, she wasn't running up screaming, talking about, hey, motherfuckers. She was just walking to the car like a normal person, right? Like somebody who wanted to tell the cops about a crime that's being committed. Now, before we go into just how fucking crazy that is, how insane that is, let's go into the fact, let's go into the facts of what happens whenever a gunshot is fired that close to your fucking ears, okay? Back in the day, before we had any, knowledge of eardrums and eyeballs and that good kind of stuff, a lot of people who had that type of ear damage, which that caused this guy a lot of ear damage, okay? He is almost deaf. He has insanely loud ringing in his ears all the time, okay? All the time. It's a 24/7 thing. We can mediate that a little bit today, but honestly not enough to make a lot of difference. Now, back in the day, before we could do anything about it, before we really understood what the problem was, a lot of people who had that kind of ear damage and it would ring in their head all the time, it would drive them mad. They would lose sleep. They all they could focus on was the ringing, right? Because they couldn't hear nothing else, basically. And it actually led, you'd be shocked to see the stats and the rate it led to suicide. People would just have enough of this incessant ringing that they could not escape from no matter what they did, and they would blow their brains out. It happened a lot. So this guy is dealing with that for the rest of his life. The white cop who was just 2 inches from a gun going off to shoot an innocent white woman who actually called them there. Anyways, now let's get into the fact that this fucking guy did that. What could possibly provoke him to do such a thing? I honestly don't know. I'm not even going to try. You have to excuse me, my eyes just. I'm not even going to try to broach that subject because I don't have a fucking answer, sadly. And honestly, I don't give a fuck, to be honest with you. All I care about is that it happened and it shouldn't have happened. Now, I want to get into a piece written about this, okay? You're going to love this. The journalist's name is Leon Neyfacher. He's a Jew, like I said, a journalist. He writes a piece about this shooting and the stark contrast it shows, or it illustrates, between whenever a white cop shoots a black victim and a black cop shoots a white victim. He wants to show the difference in how everybody acts, society, the people in control and everything else. Now, let's get into this because the points we can draw out of this are fucking gold, and we need to do so. So, he's talking about the divide that everybody thought would happen the day that this shooting occurred. And he said, reality did not disappoint the cynics. Within 6 days of Damon's death, an attorney for her family had called her, quote, the most innocent victim of a police shooting he had ever seen. As if inherently saying that, as if saying that is inherently bad in and of itself. Like, before you use that as some kind of, insane example of an insane statement there, Jew guy, why don't you give the facts of the case? Which it's worth noting in this story, he never once gives you the facts of how that shooting went down like I just did. He never tells you that she was just walking up and he shot her out of nowhere. He never tells you that he reaches across the thing and shoots in front of his partner's face. He never mentions that. He leaves it like almost to your, imagination. He kind of just implies It's just another one of these cop shootings. And then your mind will fill in the blank. That's what he's counting on. So, like I said, innocent victim of a police shooting he'd ever seen, right? Oh, God. Horrible statement. Fucking asshole. I mean, she is. Anyways, and then he starts talking about the local police union chief. He says, when pressed on why he, the police union chief, had been willing to defend the officers involved in Clark's death, but unwilling to defend Noor. Okay, now what he's referring when he talks about Clark there is some black guy with a very lengthy criminal history. It's a lot like the Michael Brown thing. Was killed by some white cops, and they claimed that he was going for their gun, and there was enough evidence to show that that's the case. He was trying to kill the white cops. White cops killed him first, basically. And then this police chief defended those cops. Now, this guy says, when pressed on why he, the police union chief, had been willing to defend the officers involved in Clark's death, but unwilling to defend Noor. That's the guy who shot the white woman. Kroll told the Star Tribune that he hadn't yet spoken to Noor's lawyer and therefore didn't have enough information to comment. Now, right off the bat, pretty good fucking reason, right? I mean, anyways, but he's acting like it's just some kind of poor, pitiful excuse. It's really not good enough. We really know why he's not commenting. It's because he doesn't like black people. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? He paints a picture for you when you read. The conclusions he wants you to draw are right here in the words. And if you're not looking for the deception, you'll draw those conclusions. I mean, before I was red-pilled, it worked on me every time. I'm sad to say. But let's go on. In this case, I don't know the facts of it, Kroll told a reporter in a series of text messages. His attorney is handling it, and the Federation is remaining silent. This is how our board and attorney general decided to handle this one. Well, hell, that's a great reason. I mean, I'll just go ahead and tell you this. Mohammed, the Somalian cop, he refused to speak to internal affairs. He didn't speak to the press. He didn't speak to internal affairs. He didn't speak to the police chief who just asked him what the hell happened. No comment. Now, I wonder where he could have got that from. Lawyer, I mean, you know, maybe his lawyer. I'll repeat myself again. So this guy, this police union chief is saying, like, I literally don't know anything other than what the facts of the surface are here, which look pretty bad. A comment yet. Now, if it were me and I was that guy, like, the surface facts are pretty fucking apparent that there is no good excuse for what happened. So if it were me, I would say, listen, this guy, I don't know why he did this, but there's not a good excuse in the universe that this could have happened. This guy's a fucking psychopath and he needs to go to jail, possibly back to fucking Somalia. That's how I would have handled it. So if you really think about it, if you look at the facts of the case and how insane it is, this police union chief remaining silent on the issue, I mean, he's actually doing this fucking Somali a favor by not saying what everybody already knows, and that this was fucked up, that this was a botched operation here, and this guy fucked up big time, and it ended in the death of a white woman who didn't do jack shit. He's doing this guy a favor by not saying that, because we all know it. I mean, all we needed was for one official to say so, but no, nobody would say that shit. So, but the journalist, that's not good enough, right? Remaining silent, doing this guy a favor, it's not good enough. You've got to come to this guy's defense, because you come to the cop's defense no matter what, right? It's like assuming that this guy will always take up for a cop no matter what. Once again, painting an image in the reader's head that this guy just indiscriminately protects cops as long as they're white. So, he says, this is his opinion on something. He goes, on the case, he said, the episode is unquestionably more complicated than a brief summary of facts might suggest. He never explains that. He never explains that sentence. That's a huge fucking sentence. If that's the case, tell me why something that seems so bad and so obvious, right? And so much of a case that there's no excuse for. Tell me the facts, you know, how it's complicated to make it seem like it makes sense, to make it justified, or at least sympathetic to understand how somebody could mess up so bad. Tell me, journalist. But he doesn't. He wants you to take his fucking word for it. For one thing, it's not clear who progressives can point to as a villain in this case. See, and he just totally passes over the facts of the case, telling you how it's complicated. And he goes in what he means by that sentence. What he means by it's not clear who progressives can point to as the villain in this case. What he means by that is the mayor is an Indian dyke. Okay. I don't know if it's a dot or a feather Indian. I don't know, but she's an Indian dyke, Indian lesbian. So she can't really be oppressing anybody here. The police chief is black, right? He can't really be oppressing anybody here. They don't have a white guy. They have done so much diversity hiring and they've put so many oppressed minorities in positions of power in this place. They don't have a white scapegoat anymore. So that's why this case is complicated. Apparently, it's what the journalist is saying. There's no white guy to blame, so it's really complicated, guys. Just stick with me. Like, what a fucked up world we live in that somebody could say this and it passed for good journalism. Let's move on, shall we? Then he goes on to talk about Michelle Bachmann. All right. He says, Bachmann was quoted as saying, "Nor comes from the mandated cover-up women culture. That's why I'm wondering if they'll ask whether his cultural views led him to shoot her. That's something, if true, I can't imagine the progressives would let get out." All right. And then he acts like that's some kind of racist, terrible, horrible statement. And in response to that statement, the mayor, the Indian dyke, her name is Mayor Hodges, she said something in response to that. She wrote a post on Facebook assuring members of Minneapolis' sizable Somali community that she condemned any and all Islamophobic attacks that had been leveled against them since Damon's death. Quote, "Justine's death is a tragedy for our city. We cannot compound that tragedy by turning to racism, xenophobia, or Islamophobia. It is unjust and ridiculous to assert that an entire community can be held responsible for the actions of one person." See, nobody asserted that. Nobody has ever asserted that since this happened. In fact, nobody even brings up the rest of the Somali community. Period. They're only talking about this one guy. And as far as Michelle Bachmann goes, talking about the cultural, the implications that our cultural differences may have caused in this situation where he's a cop and this woman coming up unannounced was shot dead, that her even mentioning that is somehow bad. Now, what I want to point out why that's hypocritical, what do we hear all the time about culture playing a role in how cops interact with the public? I'll give you a second to think if you can, remember one case. Oh, I know one. This racist white cop who's never grown up around black people shouldn't be policing black people in the hood because they end up killing them because they racist. Every fucking time, right? Every fucking time. See, the entire country needs to realize the ramifications of cultural differences whenever a white cop kills a black person. But whenever a black cop kills a white person, how dare you, white boy, mention that it could be because of his cultural differences that he reacted like a fucking savage in this case. I mean, just think about this clown world we live in where they only want you to think whatever it is at the end of the day that justifies white death and white displacement. I mean, fuck me. The enemy we're up against, they want us dead. We all knew that already. But if this doesn't hammer it home, I don't fucking know. I mean, this is insane. So let's go on, okay? He goes in to talk about some guy with the last name Treacher, and he is a reporter or editor, I'm sorry, at the Daily Caller. I think that's what it's called. That's the one Tucker Carlson started or was the editor at for a while. Now, this journalist said that Treacher pretended to paraphrase the mayor. The thing I read you just a second ago, pretended to paraphrase the mayor, writing, "It's a shame about Justine and all, but that's no reason to hurt anybody's feelings. Words are violence too, Treacher, who wrote earlier this year, wait, let's stop there. So basically, he's just kind of making fun of what the mayor said, right? Like, oh, let's not go hurt any feelings. It's just a dead white woman. So this journalist is acting like that's some kind of outlandish, stupid, or racist statement. So he goes on, the journalist goes on to say, Treacher, who wrote earlier this year that he found the Castile shooting indefensible, even though he was very skeptical of Black Lives Matter folks, went on to criticize Noor for refusing to give a statement about what happened in the moments leading up to the shooting. Now, there's a little bit, we got a few things to unpack in that statement right there. Basically, the journalist admits that this guy, Treacher, did make what the journalist would call the right decision about the Castile shooting. He sided with Black Lives Matter, even though he doesn't trust Black Lives Matter. Now, instead of giving him credit for thinking like a good guy should, what he does is go on to say, but he criticized Noor for refusing to give a statement about what happened leading up, or the moments leading up to the shooting. And he's acting like that's some kind of unjust criticism. Of course, we should all have an issue with him refusing to speak about the facts of the fucking case, Jew. You Jew journalist motherfucker. Fuck. I mean, just think about that. Think if Darren Wilson had refused to talk to anybody, including investigators, including the police chief, the media, and every fucking body else. I mean, my God. They rioted any fucking ways. Could you imagine what they would do if he refused to speak to anybody? Like, nope, figure it out for yourself there, fucking, figure it out for yourself there, darky. I'm not going to tell you what I did, because that's what this guy was doing to us. Figure it out for yourself there, Whitey. He wanted the public to look at it and figure it out, right? And the reason that would be effective, I'm sure somebody passed this along, is because the public, right? What would happen now, the loudest voices in the public are black and brown. We all know that. So what they're going to do, unquestionably, they're going to see this black guy kill this white woman. They're going to side with him. Now, since they have the loudest voices in the public, what's going to happen? White people who want to be seen as not racist are going to be socially pressured to agree that this guy didn't do jack shit. They're going to be forced to agree, or pressured to agree with these black people and brown people who are saying he didn't do nothing wrong. Yeah, you don't want to be racist, right? You don't want to be seen as racist. Agree with me. And I mean, hats off to the fucking idiot. That's actually what happened. I mean, that happened a lot. That happened a fuckload. So anyways, that's that. Now, let's go on. Then this guy goes on to say, Ann Coulter got in on the action via Twitter, first by taking exception with Noor's decision to fire his gun from the passenger seat of his squad car while the partner was behind the wheel. Okay, pause. He goes on to, talk shit about Ann Coulter for these quotes. So the context here is these quotes are psychotic. These quotes are the rantings of a lunatic, right? This is the ravings of a madman. I'm telling you right here. That's what he's saying. So, but the thing is, like, of course she would take exception with the fact that he, this is deceptive, shot the gun from the passenger seat of his vehicle. Now, he doesn't mention that he reaches across and shoots out the driver's side. The image you get in your head, right, is what I said earlier, what he wants, which is this guy leaning out the passenger side shooting this way. I mean, no harm done to at least the partner, right? At least the partner didn't get any harm done if that's how it happened. But no, he fails to mention that he reaches across and fires 2 inches from this poor fucking white guy's face, who now will never hear his children laugh. He will never hear his grandchildren say Papa for the first time because of this fucking savage who doesn't know how to act. He gets to avoid that completely by painting a false picture in your fucking mind. Just another trick. Everywhere I look, it's Jewish tricks. Every fucking where I look. Anyways, unpause. Passenger seat of his squad car while partner was behind the wheel, and then suggesting that the high rate of police shootings in the U.S. is a consequence of all the Somalis who live here. I looked into that, what the fuck he's talking about. He's putting words in her mouth. I'm sure you can hear it yourself. Even if you don't think he's putting words in her mouth, it's really not very fucking, relevant to the story anyways. But yeah, so he ends right there with putting some words in her mouth, making it seem like she said something that she didn't say, which that something would be fucking dumb. Like if somebody believes that she actually said something like that, it's just not mathematically possible, right? Which we all know. It would seem like she's just a fucking idiot. But she didn't say that. But he has to try to discredit her. So you don't listen to anything else she says either. Jewish tricks, more Jewish tricks. Now, he goes on to put his opinion here next, all right? In 2013, Coulter had proclaimed hallelujah after George Zimmerman's acquittal in the Trayvon Martin killing. In the following year, she responded to the non-indictment of Darren Wilson in the Michael Brown case by writing, "There's nothing to protest. A cop shot a thug who was trying to kill him." Now, we need to unpack that big time. But before we do, I want you to see what he says about these quotes. While it may be folly to draw any broad conclusions from the extremist ravings of Coulter and Bachman. Okay, so right there, these quotes he just told us that Coulter said, he just admitted he thinks they're ravings of psychopaths and racists. Okay, so he's acting like Coulter saying hallelujah that George Zimmerman, who she thought, in her opinion, was innocent of the murder for which he was on trial, he's acting like that's inherently a psychotic racist statement. Okay, it's just like delusional inherently that anybody would ever think George Zimmerman didn't commit murder, that he was actually defending his life. Now, Zimmerman, the only Jew that I don't have a problem with on the face of the earth, okay, I mean, he actually was defending himself. I mean, fuck. Anyways, we're not going to go into all that. So the problem here is he's trying to make it seem like any defense of somebody who causes the death, warranted or not, of a black or brown person, any defense of them saving their own life from a black or brown person is inherently racist and bad. Okay, he's hammering that home. So then let's unpack the Darren Wilson thing. She says there's nothing to protest. A cop shot a thug who was trying to kill him. Once again, he's painting a picture that saying that sentence is inherently bad, as if Michael Brown is an angel is like just the baseline of where we have to start when we're thinking about the case. He doesn't go into the facts of any of these. He doesn't broach the facts of any of these people that he's throwing out there and expecting you to think a certain way about, because it's just understood. The arrogance of these fucking people, okay, at the very least of this fucking one Jew here, is just off the charts. It is off the fucking charts. They expect everybody to think the way they think from the word go. And then they will use arguments that even we use sometimes when it's relevant or whenever it's useful to them. I mean, the thing is, he's basically painting a picture, like I said, that anytime a black or brown person is killed by somebody who's white, whether it's justified or not, there's no such thing as justified, actually. Every time somebody black or brown dies at the hands of somebody white, it is an unjustified, killing. It's a murder. Now, that would be labeling all things as what? As one thing, right? But what do fucking Jews always do? They tell us that we can't judge all of one thing based on one person. You can't judge all black people because of OJ. The fucking, Indian dyke mayor even said you can't judge all these Somalis by one person. But so they clearly know how to go on a case-by-case basis and make your judgment there. That's what they tell us to do. But in this case, it's just assumed that Zimmerman is guilty and Darren Wilson is guilty and Ann Coulter is a fucking bitch for thinking otherwise. You see what I'm saying? So it's the way they do this shit. They do the exact opposite of what a rational human being would do whenever they encounter these situations. It's like, oh, he was defending himself from a black person? Racist! It's like, whatever the opposite is, that's what they do. So, here, I know I'm dragging this out. I'm going to finish this up real quick, okay? But like I said, he goes on to say, well, it may be folly to draw any broad conclusions from the extremist ravings of Coulter and Bachman. Their hateful rhetoric is a reminder of how far it's possible to go in defense of one's own ideology. He's saying like, oh, look at these people. Look at the level of cognitive dissonance they're engaging in by thinking that Zimmerman and Darren Wilson are not racist murderers. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, this is insanity. This is insanity. This is brainwashing on a level that shouldn't fucking exist. Now, let's go on. Faced with an opportunity to advance an argument about the dangers of diversity, very important statement, the dangers of diversity and of Islam in particular, people whose politics typically incline them to defend police officers at all costs are willing to criticize an embattled cop, very important term, embattled cop, as long as he's of Somali heritage and the victim is white. Now, there's a lot to unpack in that, but I think I can do it in a pretty quick manner. So stick with me, okay? This is very important. Now, faced with an opportunity to advance an argument about the dangers of diversity. Wow, that's shocking. I thought there were no dangers to diversity. Jew? That's what you've been telling me my entire life. My whole life, diversity's been actually not dangerous, but our greatest strength. Not a strength, but our greatest strength. Now there's a danger in it. See, the thing is, you're thinking like, oh, they're coming around and admitting it. No, they don't mean the danger, the actual danger, the real world danger of diversity. which is whites dying at the hands of these freaking non-whites who are programmed by these Jews who are writing stories like this to hate us. He's talking about the dangers of diversity. That's white racism, which is it. You know, we can't avoid our racism. It is just in us. We can't help but be racist. So the danger is for the non-whites from us. That's the danger he's talking about. It's backwards, fucking bizarro clown world. Once again, that's very important. Now let's go on to the next thing. And of Islam in particular, people whose politics typically incline them to defend police officers at all costs. That's fucking bullshit. Nobody has those views. Nobody has those views. The deal is, it just so happens that most of the time when a cop kills a non-white, it's because they needed killing. They were either trying to kill him, they were trying to kill somebody else, or they just so happened to, you know, catch him in the middle of a bank robbery or rape or whatever. 9 times out of 10, more than that, okay? When a cop kills a non-white, it's in the middle of them trying to kill the cop or something worse, right? Either the cop's life or people in the public's life were in danger. 9 times out of 10. But this guy is painting a picture of you know, like these cops out here indiscriminately killing black people because they're racist. And then you've got people like Coulter who will defend them at all costs. Nobody's defending cops at all costs. Are you sitting here telling me that these fucking Republicans would not jump on the chance that they would, you know, that a racist white cop actually committed an actual racist killing to a black person? They would love nothing more than to ride that fucking virtue signaling wave to as far as they possibly could. I know you can see Mitt Romney going, "This is so racist. I'm going to be the Republican who changes things." Come on, give me a fucking break. They would suck dick to get to that situation. I guarantee you. Now, she calls him an embattled cop, or he calls him an embattled cop. Embattled cop? Where's the fucking battle? Where's the battle? He shot somebody who called him there while they were walking up to his fucking car to tell him about the crime she called him for. Where's the fucking battle? Embattled cop? He's using these words because he wants people to think that it was just another one of these cop killings where he was fighting with a white person and had to kill him. He wants you to think that without saying it, which is why he uses things like embattled cop. Where the fuck is the battle, Jew? So anyways, let's go on. Somali heritage and the victim, as long as he's of Somali heritage and the victim is white, right? If someone wrote these events into a novel, literary critics would call the plot excessively didactic. I don't know what the fuck that word means. I'm not going to lie to you. So we're going to go past that. But this is real life. And what real people really believe is that a police officer is more likely to shoot an innocent woman because he's a Somali American zealot than because of improper training that makes him and many of his colleagues in law enforcement scared of everything that moves. So now we're blaming it on the training again. When a white cop kills a black person, there's not enough diversity training. You didn't train the racism out of them. Whenever a fucking Somali savage kills a white woman who literally was just walking up to tell them about a crime being committed, it's a lack of training again. How do you train somebody to not fucking kill an innocent person who's just walking up in an unaggressive manner? How the fuck do you train somebody to do that? Motherfucker. I hate these people. I fucking hate these people. They are the worst, and they're fucked. They're fucked. We're not going to forget this shit whenever the right comes back. We're not going to forget this shit whenever we have instituted the ethno-state. Are you with me? I know you fucking are. Fucking right, motherfuckers. Anyways, that was a side note. Here's the last little thing about this case, all right? The Attorney General will decide whether or not he's going to bring charges against this Somalian motherfucker by the end of this year, 2017. The shooting happened in July of 2017. So just try to imagine if the Attorney General in Ferguson had said, by the end of the year, give me 6 months, give me 6 solid months, and I will figure out whether or not I'm going to charge this guy. Now, talking about Darren Wilson. Now, we all know that even if he does charge him in this fucking country right now, it by no means he's going to go to jail. I mean, just look at Kate Steinel's killer. He was charged. He's fucking free right now. Guarantee he's sleeping like a fucking baby. Now, I hope I've done a good enough job of illustrating the difference in how the justice system treats whites and non-whites. They act like there's this fucking white privilege out there that we benefit from. I see none of it. I see none of it. I wish they were right. I would love to live in a world with white privilege. Motherfucker, I'd have a job right now. I'd have a job right now, even though I took up for some young white girl who got beat up by 2 grown black women. I'd still be employed. Yet we don't live in that world with white privilege. And I am fucking broke. I ain't got a job. I ain't got no fucking prospects. And I think I've been blacklisted. So that's the world we live in. And I think that's the opposite of white privilege. Now, feel free to share this video far and wide to point out these double standards. And if you like it, if you want to, go ahead. Don't feel I'm not trying to pressure you. I don't want to pressure you there. But anyways, that's all I've got for this video. I'm doing a little something different with the computer camera here. I'm doing a hangout, as I'm sure you can tell, but that's only because this had to be kind of a longer form video, and my phone is rapidly running out of space. I just can't seem to delete all these memes I keep getting, so it's taking up all my space. But anyways, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please share it. Hit that like thing. I really think that whenever people say hit that like button, it helps. I think it does help, honestly. Like, the more my videos are liked, the more they're viewed, and it goes in that order. I know it sounds weird, but it goes in that order. So anyways, hit the like button and share this far and wide if you like it. I just sounded like a real fucking YouTuber. I'm a real boy. Anyways, y'all have a good work week, and any questions or whatever, comment below. Fuck, I sound professional as shit right now. Bye, everybody.